G'day, Dr. Tony here. I'm joining you on the Realms of Power podcast, and today I wanted to discuss your 12th area, which sits at the top of the circle. And that area is your political power. Now, that is a very big topic. That topic encompasses leadership, politics in the realm of the country you live in, the state, the area, and it also covers the law, and whether you call it LAW law, maritime law, LORE, the Magna Carta, your inalienable rights, or whatever law you're talking about is the political power realm. So today's discussion may well be quite controversial. I'm going to have to share some of my opinions or beliefs, and that doesn't necessarily translate to yours. But what I would like you to think about is how you can step into your power and turn your tap on in whatever that way feels right for you. You still have to trust your intuition of what's the right area to focus on and how much, if I could call it, you want to push your leadership, if you like, in the realm of political power. Now, politics might well even come down to your sporting club, your community, your work, the politics at work, the politics of the footy club, the politics of the local council. And then it goes up from there, typically into your country's politics and even world politics. So many people in Australia right now are talking about what's happening in the US of A and how much that influences us, whether it's China, whether it's America, whether it's Britain, the European Union, the wars, and the politics does affect us. Then you have those unelected global bodies like the UN or the WEF or the WHO, which their decisions and consultations might be introduced into our country and affect us, whether directly or indirectly. So it's a very big topic. And if we're talking about the realms of power, we have to look at that. In times of old, it might have been the king in the area, the king or the queen that was ruling over you, and you had to pay your taxes. And the freedom we have right now often is determined by these governmental or political figures, and we've either accepted that or we've rejected that. Now, there's a very big difference between breaking the law, so that is interacting with another person or contracting with another person in a way that's not in agreement. And then there's definitely crossing the line and the law, where is crossing a moral line. You are hurting someone else. You are taking from someone else without their permission. You are crossing those lines that most people would agree is a line that shouldn't be crossed. So there's a very big depth of conversation around all realms of politics and what you agree to do or how you disagree with that, and what you decide to stand into your power, how far you want to take that. For instance, if you disagreed with a political law of something that you live in, but you felt you weren't hurting someone and you took a stand, and authorities came to fine you or arrest you or put you in prison, and they could overpower you. You could choose to fight back, but in that fighting back, they may well hurt you and then give you other laws that have been broken, resisting arrest, hurting a police officer, whatever that might be. And that's not really the way most people want to live. We don't want to live like that, because those people are still just representing that authority. Now, if we've given them that authority, then that's different. But if we've not given them that authority, if we've not chosen that authority over us and choose to live in peace and harmony, and they then put their laws on us because they've just deemed we're part of that society, that's a very tricky slope to discuss. Now, there's experts in this field, and I would love to have some of them on this show. My solo interview with you on this podcast is, I guess, more around my beliefs and what you can do today. And what you can do today is recognize your own power, your own rights. And when you are standing in your power with your rights, you won't be bullied. You won't be forced to do something. The latest, I guess, global example of that was making a mandatory vaccination. Now, people didn't get the time to decide if that was right for them in this country, and a lot of people felt they were coerced and forced. And now the authorities are saying, we never forced you. They're backtracking, but there was a lot of coercion and a lot of pressure. You will lose your job. You will not be able to function in society if you chose not to get an injection that you didn't know what was, that you weren't informed about all of the risks, and you didn't even know if it really worked for the situation. So that was a lot of political power by the authorities on people. Now, I disagreed with that decision, and that was a very challenging time. I've always decided to stay in my power, but also found the balancing act of living in society. Now, I could be deemed as right or wrong, judged, and that's really up to the individual to judge. Well, that's their decision, and how I respond to that is still within my power. So that is an example of political power. Now, this embodies, I guess, for me, a deeper topic of leadership. And leadership is such a great skill. When you are in your power, you tend to have more ability to lead. And that lead might be inspiring others. It might be empowering others. It might be sharing a vision that you see that other people want to be a part of. And that leadership can often then translate into becoming a head of a political type of organization, whether that's the leader of the club that you play sport in, the leader of the work that you're involved in, the leader of a volunteer team, whatever leadership role that ends up being. Leadership is still such a beautiful skill. And again, for that, I believe you need to be in your power. Being in your power and turning your tap on is the foundation. It's the foundation for leadership. It's the foundation for standing up front in an organization and just in your own life. So it starts with you. It starts with your own life. And the political power is the thing you do have control over is your decisions, is your power. And how then are you going to interact with others around you and the larger community? I say turning your power on is the way to go. Now that looks different for everyone. Only you can find the right ethical place that you want to take that to. But if you're out of your power and you're controlled by others and you're manipulated by others, that's an area of life that so many people feel trapped by, feel stuck by. They've lost their freedom. Remember, I'm trying to help you create authenticity, doing what you love, ultimate freedom. And in the ultimate freedom, that is standing in your power. I've coached so many people feeling like a doormat. They get walked all over. They're a people pleaser. They just tolerate things they don't want to be tolerating. Well, that's not in their power. And that might have been set up something very early on. It might have been something in the family dynamic. It might have been something being bullied at the schoolyard. See, bullying is one of those things, and coercion that can happen in the schoolyard. It can happen on the footy team, and then it can happen at workplace bullying. And one of the worst ones at the moment is that how much it can happen online. Someone says something about you. There's that old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, what we've talked about in this podcast is words are powerful. Their resonance is a spell. That's why they call it spelling. And so if they're putting spells on you online, that will affect your energy. Now, take that a step further, and you have to look at what the media does. The media puts spells out in through their broadcasts. That's what a broadcast is. They are casting spells over a broad area. And that, my friends, impacts you whether you know it or not. One of the biggest problems becomes conditioning. We get conditioned so easily to believe in things. We're told things, and if we have a level of trust, we believe it. And that believing might be part of the way that PSYOP operations can happen, and we can become numbed or just couldn't be bothered or head in the sand. She'll be right. I just want to go to work. I just want to have peace. And you just go along with it. Not everyone has the energy to fight. Not everyone has the energy to stand up for what they believe in. Not everyone even has the energy to speak out if someone else is getting hurt. We often stand by and go, oh, I don't want to get involved in that. So standing into your power in a broader sense, under this banner of political power, is an ethical decision, a moral decision. And the truth is, when you're in your power, you have a responsibility. They say, with great power comes great responsibility. And that is true. What you do with that is up to you, though. You still get to decide. Your power might become internalized to such a degree that you're allowing yourself to ascend, and those political things of the world don't influence you or affect you. John Demartini talks about balance. He talks about seeing the good and bad, the up and down in all situations, and the harmony of balance in our world is such a beautiful topic. When we're feeling, though, under the power of a political organisation, and you don't want to run for parliament, and you don't want to take on the behemoth giant, it's harder to initially see where the balance in that lies. But you can find it when you explore it and ask those questions. We still want to live in a society. We don't want to all just be rogue, and there is some amazing things about the government and what it does for people, what services it does offer. However, when it goes too far and goes into power plays and controls and wastage and bureaucracy, people get very frustrated. There's an election in our area coming up fairly soon, and it's just a farce. You don't get to pick the leader. There's two people representing two parties, with some other independent parties saying they have a claim to power. And really, I believe it's already been decided. It's already been manifest through higher players that we are not aware of, the general community anyway. Now, I might be said as a conspiracy theorist, or I might be looked at as, oh, you're just making it way beyond what it actually is. Well, that could be right. I don't know all the answers. That's why in Realms of Power, I have other guest speakers. But I still am very well entitled to my opinion. And my opinion is politics is a joke, and the predetermined outcomes of that are not in our current power. We focus as a community on these elections, and that gives off energy. That energy that's being given off could be positive or negative. Either way, we're focused on it, and we're distracted from being able to be truly sovereign and enjoy our lives to our fullest, because we're focusing on all of these other things that are, in a way, above us. Wow, that was a deep bit of thunder. I don't know if that came across on the podcast. There's a storm going on in my area right now. And when I think of A storm, I think of all of the things that politics and the government can do. We've looked into even topics like weather manipulation. Are the government bodies actually manipulating the weather, or are people manipulating the weather? Are all the controversial topics you've ever heard real or not? You get to decide as the listener. And if there is weather manipulation and genetic modification of food, of the food industry, of the drug industry, of the environmental industry, if there's manipulation of the financial industry, things like inflation and interest rates and stuff and taxes, all stuff that affects us that seems outside our control, is that really how we want to be living? The government serves us. That's the plan. But that doesn't feel like the plan sometimes, to me anyway, and to a lot of people I know. Now, a lot of people would say the government lies. People in the government lies. Most people would accept that. And then when you talk about what things they lie about, they just want to get on with their life, watch the footy, go to work and pay their taxes because it's too hard to stand in your power and resist. And those people that do stand in their power and resist often get singled out. They get restricted and it makes life very difficult for them. That's the world we're living in right now. Is that the way it should be? Now, when we talk about peace, well, human species are an interesting species. And we say that we want wars, we want power that controls, rather than looking at our individual, authentic power that just enlightens and frees us. If you have to have power negatively and have it at the expense of someone else, then you've broken one of the rules, I believe, of hurting someone else. We really just shouldn't be hurting other people. We should be agreeing to contract with them if they agree. If there's a meeting of the minds and we're human and we can interact with them. I've tried to study some of the corporate law and the straw man topic where we've been registered at birth and we're acting as a dead corporate entity. Now, this is definitely not my area of expertise yet, and I don't have the time yet to study it, but it's a fascinating topic, understanding what real law is, and are we under the actual laws that we think we're under? That's an amazing topic. So politics is very deep. Politics is one of those topics that you go, it's just too hard. I'm just going to live with the way it is and just go on my holiday and enjoy my life. And that's okay. For those that want to vibrate at a high level and not let politics affect them, that's amazing too. It's totally your choice. But it is one of the realms of power to be understood. Because the more you have knowledge and wisdom of an area, the more you can choose the right path for yourself. The more you choose the right path for yourself, the more you are living in your true authenticity and doing what you love doing. I believe so many people are not doing what they would love to be doing because they are underpowered. That is a real shame. We are living in an amazing time. What a time frame we're living in. And yet you talk to people and they go, the world's going to shit. I can't travel. It's too expensive. I've just got to pay my taxes. Is that ultimate freedom? Are we more free than we were 40, 50 years ago? I know that we're more into devices. We're more into electronics. We have AI access now, which is incredible. But people don't walk in nature like they used to. A lot of people do, but a lot of people are disconnected from nature, from the beauty of this world and the pollution and the environmental damage. And that's why environment is straight underneath political in the power wheel, because the government and the political leaders are the ones that have the most influence to affect the world we actually live in terms of environment. Now, there's environmentalists out there, and I really acknowledge them. However, sometimes there is a corporate entity attached to environmental lobbyists, And it's not really for the environment. There's secret agendas. There's other things going on. And the actual environmental improvement doesn't happen because of bureaucracy, because of corporate greed and corporate power. I guess corporate power and the ultra rich people mean that there's this division of wealth that the average person is not as well off and free as they were. Well, that's in our country anyway. I'd love people to stand in their ultimate power. And for that, you have to start with leadership. In the realm of politics, you have to focus on leadership. So become a strong leader. Become a strong leader, and that starts with creating an ultimate vision. What is your vision? What vision do you want? How do you want to see your power? How do you want to see the world? Does that vision inspire others? Do others want to be a part of your inspired vision? And all of a sudden you're leading. It might be a group of 5, 3, 20, 100, in whatever realm that is. And that might be the environment. It might be politics. It might be something in your community on a local level. You get to choose, but start with leadership. Now, once you've inspired that vision, one of the other absolute keys in leadership is empowering others. If you're up front in the leadership and it becomes about you and it becomes about ego, well, the ultimate leadership there can be powerful, but it's not necessarily for the good of all the people. And that's where the realm of power is an individual choice of how they want to be. Now, I've talked about ego a number of times, and ego in leadership, once again, is a huge topic. If you could be humble, if you could be in gratitude, if you could appreciate others for their contribution, but also stand in your power and have the presence and vibration of an awesome leader, that is a great space to be in. Your chest is up, your head is up, you're looking up, you're filling up with your power. And the influence of that in the world is priceless. Your decisions, your words can massively help other people. And that butterfly effect, you'll never know. You get to decide the mark you leave on this world. And that might be just leading yourself, and that's fine. It might be leading others, and that's fine. It's your choice. But lead and stand strong in your political power. I get so excited when I see someone stand into their power and feel their resonance and feel their vibration. What an energy to be around. I said in one of my earlier podcasts, we only live for a certain amount of heartbeats, and our voice is one of the keys. If you have studied the chakras, you would know the 5th chakra is our throat chakra. I think Kat talked about that in one of our sound healing podcasts. And activating that throat chakra is having your voice, not allowing your voice to go quiet and choked or loud and abusive, but finding that balanced centeredness of your voice where you speak your truth. And that, my friends, is standing in your power. I'm super excited to talk more about leadership. And in future podcasts, the leadership podcasts, the political power podcasts, with some very good friends of mine, will be massive eye-openers. Thank you so much once again for listening to these podcasts and taking some action towards turning your tap on, turning the tap on of others around you, and making the world a better place. I hope you have an awesome day. See ya.